When a video game series has been around for years or even decades, it's natural that it evolves from game to game. Change is important to keep things fresh, but sometimes if you look at where a game started and its latest release, you might not be able to tell it's the same franchise. This is especially true for games that made the jump from 2D to 3D. Games like Grand Theft Auto 5 look nothing like the first in the series. Even comparing the original Super Mario Bros. To Super Mario Odyssey, it's mind-blowing to see how far it's come. A lot of old franchises have moved on from their traditional formulas, but these days it seems like a lot of new games are picking up where they left off. Retro City Rampage riffed on earlier Grand Theft Auto games, Curse of the Moon took on the classic Castlevania style, even New Super Mario Bros. Was a throwback to the linear Mario games. One of my favorite game series is Ninja Gaiden, which started as a 2D side-scroller, then changing into a brutal 3D hack-and-slash game. But what if Ninja Gaiden hadn't gone 3D, and its evolution took place in the 2D realm? Well, the Messenger for the Nintendo Switch might be the answer to that very question. Let's check it out! The Messenger was developed by Sabotage Studios and released on August 30th, 2018. As you begin, a cutscene sets the story into motion. A ninja clan from an isolated area are some of the sole survivors on Earth. They are in constant training, for one day a demon army will reach their land and attempt to eradicate the remaining humans. When this day comes, a hero from the West will task a young ninja to deliver a sacred scroll to the highest mountaintops, as it contains humanity's final hope at survival. And what do you know? That day is today, and that messenger is you! Now the story doesn't seem too intriguing. In fact, I was ready to write it off and say, hey, it must be all about the gameplay. But boy, was I dead wrong, because there are some twists here that are actually surprising. I won't spoil too much, but it turns out that you are just one of many messengers through time, who must deliver the sacred scroll to another messenger in one giant time loop. And if that wasn't enough, the messenger that you hand the scroll to, well, he shows to be pretty incapable, and instead you must use the power of the scroll to travel through time, defeat the Demon King, and save all timelines. There are plenty more revelations along the way, but the hilariously clever dialogue is the shining star when it comes to the story. And the most laughs come from your interactions with the mystic shopkeeper. He acts as your guide, offers you advice, but mainly insults your intelligence and tells you random stories. He'll even steal your hat style and accuse you of copying him. It's lighthearted and it's so good I found myself entering the shop more times than necessary just to talk to him. And none of the dialogue is without purpose, and something referenced earlier in the game will be brought back up later for another hilarious joke. Like when another one of the robed mystics wants to do the thing, and he is constantly bringing it up, and in the end, the thing is what saves the day. I can go on and on with examples of how great the dialogue is, but the story is only one piece to the puzzle, because if the gameplay doesn't deliver, then it's all for naught. The Messenger is a 2D side-scroller that right off the bat looks similar to Ninja Gaiden. The ninja can run with the directional buttons, there's a button to jump, and a button to slash with your sword. You try to make it to the boss fight at the end of the level while cutting down any demon that stands in your way. Seems pretty basic, but the core mechanic of the game is what sets it apart from other ninja games, the Cloud Step. This is a non-traditional double jump, which can be performed after striking something with your sword in mid-air. The entirety of the level designs are focused around this, and it is masterfully done. There are plenty of enemies and well-placed item drops that will allow you to stay in the air almost indefinitely if you're skilled enough at the Cloud Step. I absolutely adore this mechanic. It is insanely satisfying and captures the essence of being a ninja. Being able to strike and move onto your next target with ease. It makes the game fast and buttery smooth. Now ninjas always have a bag of tricks, and the Cloud Step is just one ability you'll learn. There's also a glide to help increase your jump distance, climbing gloves to cling to walls, a rope dart, which, according to the shopkeeper, is totally not a grappling hook. And eventually you'll be able to run on water and lava. You get an additional ability at different portions of the game, allowing new areas to become accessible. And it gives you plenty of time to learn and master each ability before throwing another one into your arsenal, giving it a nice feeling of progression, as though you're honing your skills before the final confrontation. You can also upgrade stats like your health bar and shuriken at the shop, paying with time shards, the in-game currency that you find scattered throughout the levels. The first few stages I didn't feel overwhelmed by difficulty, but I had a sneaking suspicion that this game would prove to be a challenge. And the Messenger really puts you to the test with some intense platforming sections, forcing you to incorporate all the abilities you've learned so far. The bosses can be tough to beat, but there were times where I destroyed some on my first attempt. It takes that old school approach of asking you to adjust to a pattern in order to win. And the Messenger's difficulty never reaches the point where it's frustrating, since there are ample save points. The consequences of death aren't even too bad, since there is no life system. A demon will just revive you, and it will hang around eating any time shards you collect for a few moments, then he'll leave. But you better believe there is some humor when you die, as he will berate you with insults, and often will show your death count. What a jerk! I died over 400 times in my playthrough from start to finish. That's not really my proudest moment. By now you'll probably have noticed that the look of the game is jumping from an 8-bit to 16-bit style. And that's because halfway through the game, you go into the future. And of course, the future has better graphics. Such a unique idea. Not only is it a graphical change, but you are constantly leaping back and forth through time to open up new paths. Because what's really cool is when the game started, it was 8-bit and linear. But when it jumps to 16-bit, there is a lot more exploration, and it begins to feel like a Metroidvania game, with non-linear paths and secrets to explore. It all looks amazing, but if I had to choose between the 8-bit and 16-bit style, well, I'd prefer both. I like the 8-bit sprites, but I prefer the 16-bit backgrounds. The bosses are so detailed and epic looking, especially the Demon King. I like a lot of the enemy design too, but the only thing lacking in the graphical department was enemy variety. By no means is it a deal breaker. I merely noticed that as you progress, the baddies don't seem to change up too much depending on the location. Tying the whole thing together is a fantastic soundtrack. And like the graphics, each level will have a song for the 8-bit world, which sounds like the NES, and a more detailed one for the 16-bit version, which sound like the Genesis. All the songs are so catchy and fit the environment of each level perfectly, and I even bought the soundtrack because I enjoyed it that much. The Messenger does so many things right, even little things, like having this slightly faded line at the bottom of the screen for gaps in the land, which show you that it's a bottomless pit. It prevented me from jumping down so many times thinking there was a secret or a new screen would show up. There are so many tiny things like that which show how much thought was put into this game. As far as I'm concerned, there are no glaring negatives, and you can see that the developers poured their heart and soul into making the very best game that they possibly could. The Messenger is damn near perfect on all fronts. If you like a funny, well-written story, that's here. If you like exceptional gameplay that is challenging and fair, that's here too. A rockin' soundtrack? That's here. Awesome graphics? You better believe it's here. And if you haven't guessed by now, would I recommend The Messenger? Oh hell yeah, this is easily one of my favorite game releases of 2018. It hits the perfect sweet spot of paying homage to the past and being original in all facets of the game. Make sure to pick this one up because it's only $20 and it'll give you hours of entertainment. Have any of you guys played The Messenger? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll see you next time, and remember, it's all fun and games. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed that video, why not check out the video down below, where I talk about why I stopped collecting video games. And if you like It's All Fun and Games, then please make sure to subscribe. Thanks again.